if you think you would like to apply to Homerton or to Cambridge, then please do drop us a line. You can email admissions@homerton.cam.ac.uk. And we will answer your questions. So please do that. Also, I ought to point out that we do have a preparation program running in August and September. And this is for all subjects, but we will be doing subject-specific help on that program. So if you look online on our website, you can see some videos about the college, but also you can see the summer preparatory program. And it's basically 2 months with weekly seminars helping you for interviews, helping you for preparing applications. We do prioritize based upon particular contextual information, but we have got a large number of places on that program. And so if you feel like it would be of use to you in helping you prepare, go online and sign up for that program. And we'll get back to you later in the month, well, later next month, to tell you whether you have got a place. But remember, keep on asking questions, and please do look at that program. So I just thought I'd introduce our students to you, and we have just got Charles joining us as well. So we have Jack, Ria, Dan, Clara, and Charles, who are all studying engineering at Cambridge. Do you guys just want to just introduce yourself quickly, and just maybe say a few words about engineering? So Jack.
Hi, I'm, as you said, Jack. I'm a fresher. I've just finished my first year. Had exams about 2 weeks ago now, and at Homerton, I take part in football and the tennis, and that's about it.
Thanks, Jack. So, and Ria?
So hi, I'm Ria. I'm also first year. At Homerton, well, I don't play that many sports, but I'm still part of the badminton society. So yeah, I play a bit.
Okay, and Dan?
Yeah, I'm just finished second year, going on into third. I do a few more nerdy societies around Homerton. I play things like D&D with groups of friends. Yeah, just at the point of specializing, just going into third year where you get to do what you want to do.
Dan, there are no nerds at Cambridge. Everyone is a nerd. That's the... Okay, and Clara?
Hi, I'm also second year going into third year. I'm also a very proud college mom, as Jack here is my college son. And
we ought to mention what that is, Clara. Otherwise, people may get confused.
Oh yeah, so basically, yeah, he's not my real son. Basically, within colleges, when you join as a fresher, we give you a college family, which basically is like students in the year above will be your parents, and they kind of help you the first few weeks, guide you around what's going on. And yeah, within college, I am in quite a few sports teams. I'm part of the rowing team and tennis and frisbee as well. So yeah, pretty busy schedule for me.
And Charles?
Hi, so I'm Charles. I'm in first year as well, like Jack and Ria. So I'm the incoming president for our engineering student staff joint committee in the department. So I'll be representing all undergraduates next year as a student voice.
Excellent, thank you guys, and thank you for joining us. So you can see that people do have a variety of pastimes. You know, it is hard work at Cambridge, but you do still get to do other things. We've had some questions sort of coming up, so I'll try to motor through some of these. Kate asked an important one about fourth A-levels. This is a question we get a lot, really. There's a lot of questions about various aspects of applications. If you are doing a fourth A-level and it's related to the topic, then we do quite like you to complete it, to carry on doing it. But many students can't do fourth A-levels, and so it's not a prerequisite in any way. If you're doing a fourth A-level that's not related to engineering at all, we will not look at that when we come to making offers. It will effectively be invisible to us. But if it is relevant, we may occasionally sort of just maybe request that you continue doing it. In a similar way, if people are doing extended projects, or they're doing any other kind of work at school that is beyond the norm for most students, we can look at it in your application. We can see it. We can realize that it's, you know, you're doing that much extra work, but it won't form a major part of our decision-making process. And that's because not all students can do that. And so it wouldn't be fair to put too much emphasis on that element. Okay. Another question from Jan. On the day of the interview, are there additional tests specific to Homerton? Miles, do you want to mention this about?
So, no, some colleges do ask you to do additional tests. At present, we do not do that. If that were ever to change, we would inform you, but no, we do not ask you to do an additional test.
Absolutely. Occasionally, in the past, occasionally we have given students that interview just some material to look at before they arrive, but that's not really a test as such. But we're not doing that this year, Miles. So, no. Okay. But so there's slight differences between the colleges in how they deal with this. What's the percentage split between state and private education? That's an interesting one. So it's, at the moment, we're around about 74% state at the moment. And it's a tough one. Is it a disadvantage to have a private education? And the answer to that is we look at every application individually. Okay, so for every application, we look at the grades you've got to date, your reference, your personal statement. We look at all of the information that we can to make sure that we find the best students from every background. And that's the important thing. We consider each person individually. And so when we're comparing, you know, if we're looking at, you know, across all of our applicants, you can't really compare individual applicants because they each excel at different elements. But of course, we do take context into account, so that if you have had major barriers to your education, then of course we do look at those, you know, and that's, you know, quite an important consideration in some cases. Right, so let's have a look at some more questions. So if you want to sign up for the summer program, if you just go to our website, just homerton.com.ac.uk and go to admissions, you'll see a link to the page there where you can sign up for the summer program. We have lots of questions coming in. Here we go, Miles. Is it true that Cambridge prefers applicants that don't specify in their personal statements the types of engineering they prefer?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
If you have, you know, like I've said, the key thing is we want to see that you've just got a passion for engineering and an enthusiasm. So if you have a specific area that you want to study, you know, I want to hear about that. I want to see. That's a good way for you to indicate that you're passionate. If you're not sure what you want to do, but there is some area of engineering that's caught your interest, which is, you know, obviously you've got that because you're applying to do engineering. I want to know why you're applying to engineering. So no, that's not true.
Cool. Another question: are the facilities at Homerton only for that particular college? And actually, a lot of students do sort of, you know, go to visit other colleges, but things like our gym and things like the sports field are generally only used by our students. But I'm sure you'd say, guys, that you invite friends and other people as well, would you, to the student?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to visit many other colleges as well in your time to play sports and things?
Yeah, I mean, like for sports like football, every single week you have home and away matches, but every week you normally go away to other colleges and use their facilities. But I mean, they are, say, like Homerton's football pitches are facility, and we can go on it whenever we want. It'd be a bit weird if another college came and started using it.
Okay, thank you. Another question, maybe for the students here. how big is the step up in terms of workload from A level? And you can be honest here. Anyone want to answer that amongst the students?
I mean, for me, it was quite a big thing. I remember comparing notes with Clara in first year, and you did like 6 A-levels or something like that. So it's like for Clara, it was a step down. And then you really need to learn how to work. So the advantage of the way engineering department is that it's all pretty much Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But it's like, that's always been aspirational for me. I've never been able to really work like that. So often it's filling in evenings and everything like that. And so when you come, most of your terms will always be a learning experience. So Timos has repeatedly tried to drill into me that I should be doing the questions, you know, as the lectures cover a bit of a new topic, then I should do, you know, question 1 on the examples paper as I can do it, and slowly like pace myself out like that. Quite frequently, I end up existing deadline to deadline and doing stuff the night before it's due. But it's like the strategies, unless you've been doing quite a lot for A-level, the strategies you'll be used to coping with won't necessarily translate. And so you'll probably find first year and the first term hard, but then when you look back on first term of first year, you'll think it's so trivially easy. Why was I so like, you know, overwhelmed by that? And it's not because the stuff in itself was hard, it's because you still need to learn how to work. And so that kind of skill is like more by practice at being at Cambridge as well.
Excellent. I mean, it's tough, right, guys? It is hard, the course, isn't it? Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, I found it's kind of thing when stepping up from GCSEs to A-level. It's always hard at first, but it really is just a learning process. I mean, you're all in the same boat. I think there's no one in our year who I think really struggled. And it's not like suddenly the stuff you're learning is impossible. It's just you've so much stuff going on, and it's also tricky in the first term, especially. Yeah, new uni, meeting new people, you've got tons of activities to do. It's more just, I would say, about learning how to use your time effectively rather than just having tons more content than you're used to.
Okay, thank you. Miles, are there any questions that you think you want to answer there on the?
There is a lot.
There is quite a few questions, yeah.
You've given that. If our personal statement is about electrical and electronics engineering, will our technical questions during interview be about circuits and electricity or about engineering in general? Well, if you are interested in that area and that's indicated, then I would be more inclined to ask you technical questions on that area. So yes, you would probably get one question that's focused in that area, but you'd certainly have a question that's more general that could be targeted to all candidates that covers a general engineering aspect. So no, you won't just be focused in that particular area.
Maybe if I add, because each candidate will have 2 interviews, so perhaps Miles will do that, but then in the other interview, definitely you will be asked a general question in engineering. Because keep in mind, it's good to have made up your mind, you would like to choose certain direction from the very beginning, but at the same time, you need to be prepared in the first 2 years, you will cover all fundamental aspects of engineering. You need to be prepared for that, and this will be a real strength later on once you graduate from Cambridge engineering.
It's one of the benefits of us doing 2 interviews, or colleges doing 2 interviews, is those 2 interviews can focus and assess different aspects. So one can be purely general engineering, the other can branch out and look at sort of your personal statement, identify questions that we can ask you perhaps based on those. Okay, let's have a look.
Okay. So I've just I just posted a link to the preparatory program, which we only launched late last week, but people have been saying that they've been having trouble accessing it. So I'll just make sure that that is live. So I'll check that out just after this meeting to make sure that it is live. But that link is where it should be going to. Okay.
There's a question that the students might want to answer. What computer hardware or software would we need for the course? Is there any program or programming language which is recommended for us to learn before entering? Because strictly, there is no program language that you need to know before you arrive. We teach you all of that. But what do you guys think in terms of sort of bringing hardware or software? What do you think the bare
I guess
essentials are?
if you learn Python, you'll make your lives easier for yourself. Definitely during first and second year. You don't need it. Like, my Python was very, very basic before I arrived, and I could do the exercises and I could have gone with the course, but I would have been able to do them faster if I had learned Python before. So definitely, if you have the chance, it'll be something worth it, especially not only for the course, but for your CV as well. When you have to like apply for internships, it also looks really good that you can be fluent with Python or C++ as well. But I think Python mainly for first year will help more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, well, provided you become an offer holder, I will send you a preparatory pack, and that will include some basic information on Python to set you up for the course. It's not intense, but it will help you to tackle Python. But beyond that, there is nothing that you need to do. In terms of computer hardware, it's always helpful to have a laptop. You could get away with not having a laptop, but you would have a challenging time. So you need some sort of interface to write out your work, or get online to access the course content. But there's no software specifically that you would need other than a word processor. And the university has access to this sort of software. So the provision of software is quite good here.
And I can just add as well, because I had no Python experience whatsoever. I didn't even do GCSE IT. The last thing I did was like Scratch, like year 8 or whatever it was. And it will save so much time if you learn how to do Python. Because I came in having zero knowledge, and the last thing you need in first term as a fresher is trying to learn a new computer language when, if you've had very little experience, it will save huge amounts of time and then allow you to do obviously your other work as well. So I would definitely get on and maybe start doing some of that as well towards the end of summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had a question. Oh, you've answered, are the facilities at Homerton only for that particular college? Well, yes. Although other colleges can come over for away games, like Jack mentioned, things like that. Any tips on what to include in a personal statement? Well, again, it's about showing your sort of enthusiasm and passion. And it's an opportunity for you to show your sort of unique achievements in that area. So if you've done Olympiads, for example, you might want to talk about those in your personal statement. If you've done mathematical competitions, you might want to talk about that. And you might want to mention, how you're passionate about engineering. And that can help to feed into the interview, so we can expand upon what you've discussed in the personal statement in the interview. So it's an opportunity, personal statement, for you to show the basic sort of foundation that you are enthusiastic and passionate about engineering, and identify any extra achievements you've had beyond your qualifications that you're earning.
Perhaps if I add here, whatever you put in your statement, it should be real, it should be true, because definitely we'll make questions, we'll pick up points from the statement to ask you things, and then if it become, if it's not the real thing, it will become pretty obvious, and that will give not the best impression, at least.
Yeah, make sure that you're truthful, be concise, be clear, and just present yourself in your application.
Another question, what about to the students? Why did you choose Cambridge over another university?
Well, if I can answer that, I applied to a lot of US universities and colleges. And I think one of the main reasons that I picked Cambridge was because I still wasn't completely sure about what I wanted to specialize in. Of course, you can change majors in US colleges, but I think I wanted that complete focus of general engineering in the first 2 years. So yeah, that was something that I liked.
Okay, anyone else?
I had a slightly different thing because I applied with, in my personal statement, it was like, I really love civil engineering. And then like that didn't disadvantage me. I came here and I still want to do civil engineering, having done 2 years of everything. And the reason I wanted to do Cambridge was not so much because I wasn't sure, like I could have very happily done a more specialized course somewhere else. It was because all the projects I was looking at and kind of where I wanted to be as an engineer was kind of project management and running teams. And unless you want to be like the god of reinforced concrete, you will be working with lots of other people. And so I had it from that kind of like management thing in the back of my mind, that being able to communicate effectively with electrical engineers and mechanical engineers and thermodynamicists, you know, all of that, having enough knowledge to know if someone was BSing me and be able to speak their language a little bit was a really valuable skill to have, even though I knew I was going in one direction in my studies.
Thank you. Any other ideas?
To be fair, mine was similar to Ria. Like, I knew I wanted to do biomedical engineering, but I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go. And then actually in the first and second year, I discovered this thing called information engineering and information theory, which I'd never heard of before. And in the end, for my specialist, now in third year, I'm actually going to choose half bio and half info. But even though I had clear the broader area of engineering, having done the 2 first years, now I'm able to actually choose way more specifically what I want to do in the future. So that was really helpful.
Brilliant, thank you. We've had a question. I alluded to this earlier. Are interviews likely to be remote this year? And the answer is we don't know, but we're planning for every possibility. We just don't know how this pandemic is going to proceed. And so there's lots of discussions within the university at the moment about interviews. I think we're going to be making a statement within the next week or two about this, quite a general statement about this. So keep your eyes sort of peeled on sort of the website for that. But we're just reacting like all other universities to how the pandemic is proceeding. So that's about all I can say on that at the moment, I'm afraid. Another comment. So what are the advantages of the Cambridge one over the Oxford one? And could that be an interview question too? At Cambridge, we don't spend a lot of time kind of talking about the kind of the preamble, the kind of personal interviews. You know, most of our interviews are focused on the academic content. So you don't have to have a pre-prepared question about, you know, to say how wonderful the course is. I mean, Miles, would you say ours is in many of our courses, the Cambridge courses tend to be more general, becoming more specific, whereas I know Oxford has a lot more specific courses.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, it's the same for any university you apply to. Make sure you research the university really, really well and look at the breakdown of all of the courses to see if the content suits what you're interested in. And as I say, ours might not be, you know, relevant to you. You may not want to do that breadth in the first year and sort of narrow down. You may want to get straight on into the subjects that you know want to focus on. And we have had people who've sort of turned down offers because they just wanted to do one form of engineering, and that's been fine because, you know, we'd rather you want to do our particular course than sort of, you know, and not be unhappy doing things you don't necessarily want to do. But you just have to be prepared for the breadth, basically. Good question here. What kinds of projects do you work on at Cambridge? I'm assuming this means possibly for students in practicals. I don't know if students can give any idea of the kind of, if have any projects that they've done to date.
I mean, as a fresher, we had, I'm trying to think, we have like 3 labs a week maybe, and it can vary. But in terms of big projects, we had our IEP, the Integrated Electrical Project, where we basically just built a radio. And but it's not like you have to pass and build a radio, because not many people are that successful. But it's just going through it and doing it. And then we've actually just been emailed, I think, for a summer Mars lander project, which is basically, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure the second years can answer it better, but to do with coding.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, quite a bit of coding.
Have you got any?
Yeah, you do a wide variety of practicals, from optics to, you know, building a bridge and testing it. In terms of, if you're not talking about labs and you're talking about projects, probably one of the most interesting is the integrated design project, which I will nominate the 1Bs to talk about that.
Do you want to talk about yours first?
I can talk about mine. So basically, in second year, you do the integrated design project, which in a nutshell is basically you build a robot, and each year the robot has a different task to complete. So in our year, it was a landmine retrieving robot. So basically, you get divided into teams. You have a mechanical team, an electronics team, and then a software team. And throughout, I think it's the course of 5-6 weeks, you basically work nearly every day in the lab building a robot entirely from scratch. And I think that's probably the coolest project we have so far. And then in the last day, you have a competition and everyone brings the robots together, and some don't work and you have a laugh. Hopefully it's not yours. But again, it's everything quite chill. It's like the radio, there's not a lot of pressure. So it's really enjoyable to actually see engineering in action. You get to use the 3D printers, you get access to all the electronic stuff. So it's definitely a very, very cool project.
IDP is really good. One of my favorite ones was actually the first one you do, the Lego Mindstorms project. So it's the first one you do in, I think, first term of first year. I think our group was a little bit ambitious. We made a tic-tac-toe player. So it dropped in ping pong balls into a grid and then scanned them. So you'd play noughts and crosses against this robot. And then the robot would always win, was how we program it to do. So it's just like, it's just kind of fun design things. I don't know, have you guys talked about standard credit already? Okay, so standard credit is like the godsend of first and second year, because it's with all these projects, they understand as department that like you have a lot to actually do and learn in terms of examples, papers, and all of these things could be a massive time sink. You could like happily tinker for an extra 10 hours getting your radio to work, or fiddling with your robot, or your Lego Mindstorms, or your structural design stuff. And so standard credit is that if you turn up on time, you give it a good effort, you get full marks. It's not the same case in like third year and beyond, but it's for all these little labs and all these various projects that have the potential to really absorb you, that the sting is really taken out of the tail, and that as long as you give it a good go and like try it seriously, you'll come through fine. Like Mars lander, like hopefully you'll do that pretty well over this summer, but it's just like, it's not like the sky's not going to fall in if you can't figure out how to do the Mars lander. It's like there's always, the stakes are slightly lower with such projects.
Yeah, good.
Okay. I think one earlier was, do you have full access to the Dyson Centre?
Yes.
That was, yep.
Yes, you can do anything you like in the Dyson Centre, build whatever you wish. It's quite a rare opportunity to get access to that kind of equipment. I mean, theoretically, you probably build a car in there. I think they'd be a bit concerned by the size of it when it was being assembled in the Dyson Centre, but yeah, anything you like.
Okay. Is accommodation guaranteed for all years? And yes, generally at Homerton we can do that. I think there's one. do you have a formula student program? I'm not sure what that means, Miles. Do you?
Formula student program.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. I don't know.
There's one. What do the admissions think of Scottish hires and advanced hires?
Well, I mean, we need advanced hires in the equivalent subjects to what you do for A-level. And so, you know, absolutely, we know that there have been difficulties in sort of recent years with the advanced hires, partly because you don't necessarily need to do them for most Scottish universities. But the one thing I would say is Scotland is one of Homerton's link areas, and so we're responsible for, you know, for working with Scottish students. So if you do have questions, please do email us, and we hope to be able to send some students and academics up to Scotland once the pandemic recedes. But certainly we do actually accept them for the same subjects as we do for our A levels, and you know, at the level of A.
I've just realised what they meant by formula.
Yeah.
That's formula student, which is racing. So yes, Cambridge does quite a bit of racing. They have the blue racing team that do that as well. And there's a solar car as well. There's a number of different ones, but formula is one of them. And formula, it branches out. You don't necessarily have to be an engineer to take part in the formula. But yes.
Another question, would this year's deferred entries due to COVID make it harder for year 12s to get in? That's a good question. We're aiming to not make that the case. So again, the pandemic is creating all sorts of questions, and we're sort of solving, you know, and we're developing answers to those. But we're planning on doing as close to normal teaching as we can for this coming year. So we are doing various, you know, live practicals and sessions, albeit with social distancing. You may have seen recently that the lectures are being done online, but they're just the lectures, which you normally just sit through anyway. So we're trying to make things as normal as possible. We don't think that there will be huge numbers of deferred applicants. And at the end of the day, it's our decision whether to allow those students to defer. And we're not making those decisions until August. So it's something we're very conscious of. We don't want to disadvantage next year's applicants, you know, at all, really. And if we did have deferrals, I'm sure we would look to trying to find increased spaces next year to offset that. So it is something we're thinking about deeply, and we are trying to make sure that next year's or your year's applications are not disadvantaged by the effects of the pandemic this year.
Does the standard of football vary across the colleges? And do different colleges compete in different leagues and offer different levels of training? Yes, the standard of football does range, hence why it's competitive. But there are a number of different divisions because every college can have multiple football teams, same with rugby, but it's less likely in rugby. There tends to only be one team. And they will compete in different divisions depending on how good they are. So Homerton is top flight football. They're in the top league. Jack is the new engineering arrival in the first team, but Homerton has a second team and a third team. And there is a women's team as well. So whatever standard you are at, or whoever you are, there is a team that is at the right level for you. They all have their own training programs. Homerton's lucky that the new pitches are spectacular, so the level of football will inevitably be better. But Homerton's been lucky enough to have a coach for a number of years who was also the barman in the bar, and he's been, you know, very useful to the college. We've just been lucky to have that. Most colleges don't have that. So no, the college football teams in most cases tend to be run by the captain. So the captain decides, each year the captain's changed, the captain decides the training regime. So I was captain during 2 years during my PhD, and we had a training program that I had done while I was an undergraduate, and we kept on with that, and it's captain's responsibility to run the games and things like that. And the same for all sports.
Okay, we'd better finish soon, so Miles, so just a few more questions. What's the minimum grade in GCSE English language required? We basically don't have one. You need, if you're applying from overseas, we normally ask for IELTS, but for GCSE levels, we just glance at them normally. We expect you to have a suite of good grades, but we don't pay a huge amount of attention to the specifics of them. So don't worry too much. If generally most people have got 7s, 8s, and 9s, and that's fine. I think we might finish on this one. So, what are some good books to read for engineering, or otherwise? What are some good books to read for engineering, as I'm bored in quarantine? Students, can you recommend any good books?
Find a book about Python and read that book about Python, and then find another book about Python, read some more about Python, and you'll thank me in a few years.
Okay. Any other recommendations?
I mean, I would say if you're going to read a book, as long as it sparks your interest, that's what's important. So find a book that, it doesn't need to be like a textbook with problems in it. It can be more of a sort of philosophical aspect of engineering. As long as it interests you, that's what's important. I would look for something like that. For instance, I work in nuclear, so I would probably read a book around sort of politics and public perception of nuclear and how that shaped our energy infrastructure in the UK.
Okay, excellent stuff. Just to finish, guys, shall we just ask the students, what's been the biggest thing that you've enjoyed across your time here at Cambridge so far? The big benefit of either the course or just the experience? So Jack, maybe first.
Well, to be honest, for the first year, I've just loved the whole sport and social side of it. And I didn't think it would be, I think it's not what everyone expects when you come here. It's certainly not what I expected, but the college system is amazing. You will really learn to appreciate, if you come here, how great being in a college, Homerton, really is. And there's the social aspect, there's a sport aspect. It's brilliant being on college teams. You get to know year above, a lot of new people you can meet, and I've really, really loved that social and sporting side. Okay.
And Ria?
Well, I think before coming in, the two things that I really wanted to do aside from just proper engineering was learning languages, and I was interested in like aeronautical engineering. So I think the most enjoyable part was the language courses they run at the department. I think someone asked a question earlier. They're at all different, lots of different levels, depending on what you've done before. They're usually very relaxing. So yeah, that was great.
Cool, thank you, Ria. And Dan?
So I want to echo Homerton's home. I love eating Great Hall Buttery, even the orchard, and just going on and have a walk on the orchard, because most of the activity in college is the front end, where most of the housing and supervision rooms are. But then it goes back quite a long way with the sports fields and stuff like that. And it's just really lovely having a walk. And I remember playing a lot of croquet in my first year, and just college is just a nice place to unwind. One of my favorite bits, kind of like what Jack was saying, is the separation of powers, is that department doesn't really care too much about you as an individual. You're just one of the hordes of first and second years or whatever. But they are really their focus is just being on a really good engineering department and the Dyson Center, and being able to mess around technically and that kind of stuff. Whereas in Homerton does the opposite. It doesn't it's not responsible for your teaching at all, but it wants to be as comfortable and as homely as possible. And it's just that each person has more pure motives. It's not like the engineering department is in charge of organizing your pub crawls or something like that. It's just people who care about those bits do those bits for you. And so you have your place where you unwind and belong, and you have your department, which is fantastic engineering, which you wouldn't get to do anywhere else. So it's there's a place for everything, whether you want to do your sports, your languages, or you book a room in college just to hang out with your friends and watch movies on big screens. So it's like, you can.
Thank you, Dan. Clara?
I think the projects we do in engineering have actually been surprisingly more enjoyable than I expected. I don't know, it's quite a nice break from lectures and supervisions just to actually really get some hands-on experience and get to use all the cool stuff at the Dyson Centre. Like, who would know I would be using a laser cutting machine or a drill like a few years ago. So that was definitely very enjoyable for me.
Charles?
So I agree with Jack on the social aspect. So one of the main reasons I applied to Cambridge was the architecture, the college system, and the fact that we all get to stay together for 4 years. So that was what really attracted me.
Good stuff. I don't know if the academics want to say anything. The last comment?
Academics, I mean, yeah, like one of the best universities in the world. Like, what else do you need?
Okay. So I think we're going to end it there. We can continue to answer questions sort of remotely. Just email admissions@Homerton and we can try and answer some of your questions. One thing I did notice, it was pointed out, the summer program that I mentioned, there is a problem with the link at the moment to that webpage, which I'll get sorted out in the next few hours. So it's just, for some reason, it's been locked. But have a look at the link I placed into the chat, and hopefully within a few hours that page should be up and running again. So thank you for pointing that out, one of you online. It's brand new. We haven't actually had anyone sign up to it yet, so you're the first people that I'm mentioning it to. So we just need to get the link fully activated.
If I could say one more thing.
Absolutely.
Just there's a few tiny questions. Can you do German as your language? Yes. If you've already done it, then I encourage you to do it and extend your German if you like it. Has there been any famous sporting persons from Cambridge? Yes, a lot of famous people, some of which will probably come and give you a talk at some point at Homerton. Famous international hockey players and athletes and so on and so forth. There's a film you might want to watch called Chariots of Fire, which is filmed in Cambridge. Apart from that, I think that is computer science. Yes, we have had applicants apply for engineering that have a computer science A-level. I don't know the numbers of how many, but that would be an A-level that would be technological and would be encouraged, yes.